The Supreme Court will now consider whether a state can put in place a Second Amendment Preservation Act, which has the purpose of making a state a two-way sanctuary state. But now the Trump administration is on the clock and will have to answer what they intend to do on this issue. So let's break down what is happening in this critical case. Now, before we jump into this video, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Attorneys on Retainer. When it comes to protecting yourself after a self-defense incident, AOR is in a league of its own. AOR is a real law firm, so they will help you in self-defense incidents that maybe other companies would not. But right now, AOR is also doing something amazing. They have now expanded their coverage with the new association, and they've added a ton of new benefits if you sign up to be an AOR member. The new perks include civil liability coverage up to $100,000, red flag law coverage up to $15,000, and then also expungement coverage up to $5,000. With the new association, which is licensed through the state of Montana, AOR can offer you some of the most comprehensive protections on the market. And if you're already an AOR member, you probably already got an email about upgrading to the association protection as well. That's 100% free. All it takes is a couple minutes. All you have to do is put in your credit card. They're going to charge you $1 and then it's going to be refunded back to you. So again, 100% free. And one of the cool things that they're doing is if you sign up in 2025, you will get all this new coverage at the same price. Your price will not go up for a really long time. But if you wait and sign up in 2026, it's going to be a different price point. So make sure you sign up in 2025. So again, if you're interested, click the links down below in the details section in the pinned comment. And if you use the code ARMEDSCHOLAR, you can get $50 off your individual sign-up plan or $25 off of the family plan. So like I said in the intro, in this video, we're going to be talking about a very significant Second Amendment case that is once again back in front of the Supreme Court. This case deals with a state's Second Amendment Preservation Act, also known as a SAPA law. We have discussed this case before because recently the Supreme Court issued an order denying a stay which would have protected Missouri's SAPA law during the pendency of the case. After that denial order from the Supreme Court, the case was then sent back down to the 8th Circuit, who recently issued their decision in this case. The 8th Circuit sided with the Biden administration and decided that Missouri's SAPA law was in fact invalid. But now Missouri's Attorney General has filed their official petition for Supreme Court review, and the Trump administration is now on the clock and they will have to answer what they intend to do in this case. There's also another very interesting wrinkle in this case because Trump's pick for Solicitor General John Sauer, he was actually Deputy Attorney General in Missouri who was the one defending Missouri's SAPA law. So he was in favor of the SAPA law and he was defending it against the Biden administration. But all of this is playing into potentially the Trump administration and their view on these SAPA laws being completely different, obviously, than what happened with the Biden administration. Now, for those not familiar, in 2021, Missouri passed the SAPA law here. That law set the state's interpretation of the Second Amendment and set restrictions on the support and funding that the state would provide to federal agencies in their attempts to enforce federal laws that the state there, Missouri, believed violated the Second Amendment. This law prohibits Missouri's officers, agents, and government officials from helping federal agents who are attempting to violate the Second Amendment rights of Missouri residents. The law also created a civil remedy where any resident of the state of Missouri could sue a Missouri official if they helped the federal government in violating Second Amendment rights. The Missouri law is similar in nature to what happened with the Texas abortion law SB 8 and the recent Supreme Court decision in the whole women's health case. With the Texas and Missouri laws and how they're structured, you can't just simply get an umbrella injunction against the state or the attorney general, since those are not the individuals who are actually enforcing the law. Instead, it's private citizens, individual residents who are filing civil suits, and you would have to get an injunction against each and every individual who filed those civil suits. In the Missouri case, the District Court on review ruled in favor of the Biden administration, striking down the Missouri Preservation Act in its entirety. Now, in response to that, the state of Missouri then appealed to the 8th Circuit. Missouri also asked for the 8th Circuit to stay some of the lower court's decision while the appeal was taking place. However, the 8th Circuit denied that stay. That led Missouri for the first time to go to the Supreme Court on an emergency basis and ask for an emergency stay. On review, the Supreme Court issued an 8-1 order denying that stay. Only Justice Thomas was in favor of granting the stay. Now, after the Supreme Court's denial there, the case then went back down to the 8th Circuit, who held expedited arguments and hearings in this case. The 8th Circuit ultimately ruled in favor of the Biden administration, striking down the SAPA law in its entirety. But now Missouri and the Attorney General there, Andrew Bailey, have filed a writ of cert to the Supreme Court. In the petition, Missouri presents 3 main questions for the Supreme Court to review. First, can federal courts second-guess a state's reason for exercising 10th Amendment authority? Second, does the Constitution prohibit states from exercising 10th Amendment authority when motivated by a concern that a federal statute is unconstitutional? And finally, is a state official a proper defendant under Ex parte Young simply because the official is regulated by a statute, or does the official also need to possess authority to enforce the law? Missouri goes on to argue in the petition that before this case, it appears no federal court had ever blocked a state from exercising 10th Amendment authority simply because of the reason that the state expressed for exercising that authority. The 8th Circuit did that here, striking down a state law solely because the act said the legislator believes certain federal statutes are unconstitutional under the Second Amendment. The 8th Circuit's holding creates multiple circuit splits and is as wrong as it is unprecedented. It declared a Missouri law unconstitutional solely because of the law's legislative findings, specifically the legislator's opinion that some federal statutes are unconstitutional under the Second Amendment. The court took no issue with what Missouri's law does, only with what the legislative findings actually say. Now, one of the things Missouri is pointing out here in the Supreme Court petition is that the 8th Circuit essentially said that the structure and potential operation of this law is valid, but they ultimately struck it down because the underlying Second Amendment purpose of this law is something that the 8th Circuit did not like. Now, this law here was opposed by the Biden administration, but now the Trump administration is in control of, the government, and they're in control of the Attorney General's office and the DOJ, and they currently have control of what they decide to do on appeal here in the Supreme Court. Originally, the Trump administration was set to file the reply brief to the Supreme Court on February 26th, but they did get an extension. The Trump administration's reply is now due, and it's upcoming on Friday, April 11th, so just next week. That means that next Friday, we will get some additional insight on how this administration plans to handle two-way sanctuary laws. The AG's office is currently reviewing all Biden policies and lawsuits from January 2021 to 2025 under the executive order that was issued by Trump. This is one of those significant cases that the Trump administration will now be reviewing, and ultimately they want to get this one right. This case also has the added benefit that Trump and his current pick for Solicitor General, John Sauer, he was the one actually prior in Missouri. He was the Missouri Deputy Attorney General who was actually defending Missouri SAPA law against the Biden administration. So he's someone who's very familiar with this, but this administration is very familiar with what's going on with the Missouri SAPA law. So like I mentioned, next week, their reply brief is due, and we're going to find out really quick what this new administration wants to do when it comes to two-way sanctuary states and two-way sanctuary laws like the one going on here with the Missouri SAPA law. Again, a lot of moving parts here, a lot of potential influence, but it's also potentially a very good thing that the pick for Solicitor General was someone who was defending this SAPA law against the Biden administration and is very familiar with what happened at the lower court level. So we're going to be keeping our eyes on for that brief that is set to be filed, by the Trump administration next week. There's always the potential that they could try to get another extension because they've been getting a lot of extensions and delays and abeyances in other cases. They already got one temporary extension in this case prior. Maybe they want to get one again. Maybe they don't need one again because they're going to finally try to move forward in this case. But we're going to get some more information on what the Trump administration actually believes when it comes to two-way sanctuary states. So we're going to be keeping our eye on what happens now. As we get more information, I will let you guys know. If you like this video and you'd like to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm, and it signals to YouTube that you guys see value in these videos and in this type of 2A news. But as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And never forget, this nation was built by ARM scholars, and this nation will be maintained by ARM scholars.